Today's the feast day of Saint Catherine of Sweden, and she lived in the late 1300s, and she is a daughter of another saint, namely Saint Bridget of Sweden. And in her life we see clearly that the great example of a parent towards children. If we want to make other people follow Christ, we must show example. And for a parent, it's not sufficient that he just teaches the child his catechism and basic things necessary for know the faith which his child is meant to follow. Parent must also show good example, and if he does, that can bring wonderful results already in this earth, but most especially if parent does his duty, it results into another saint in heaven. Saint Catherine, she was born in Sweden, and her parents were very pious and holy. Her mother, of course, was Saint Bridget, and her father was a good prince named Ulf, who did everything in his household that it was arranged according to rules and regulations of God and his church, but also according to good example. When Catherine was 7 years old, she was placed in a convent to be educated. As you heard yesterday on the feast of Saint Benedict, it used to be the custom that children were educated and schooled in convents. Not only they received the best possible education there, but they also were shown how the good followers of Christ and his church worship God, and were given the good teaching in religion, not just in words, but by best possible example. When Saint Catherine was 14 years old, she was given in marriage to a good young nobleman, and so well did she speak of the happiness of belonging to God only, that her husband agreed to live with her as her brother. So these two holy servants of God, they spent most of their time in prayer, doing the works of penance and works of charity together. Saint Catherine had to suffer insults and unkind treatment even from her own relatives, because she wanted so fervently to serve God in her state of life. Yet she never became upset. All her sufferings, all the persecution, all the mockery, she offered all to God, because the servant of Christ is always a happy and joyful servant. There's no reason for us to be sad, depressed, or under anxieties of the world. Christ has suffered everything for us. So saints' example is always a happy example for us as well. When Saint Catherine accompanied her mother to Rome, there she received news that her husband had just died in Sweden. Many people wanted Saint Catherine to marry again because she was still young and pretty, but she firmly refused, and with the help of God she remained unmarried servant of her Christ throughout her whole life. She prayed several hours a day, and all the rest of her time she spent serving God and doing good, the works of charity to many people. And after her mother, Saint Bridget, died, Saint Catherine entered a convent, and she had even the great joy of seeing her own mother being canonized as a saint of the Church. So, dear faithful, today on the feast day of Saint Catherine of Sweden, let us rejoice that we have such a great example in happiness in her. And also let us remember what it takes to bring holy children into the world. If parent wants his child to be holy, the parent must live a holy life himself. Only in good example brings good results. And even if we are not parents ourselves, we are always obliged to follow Christ in our lives, to give good example to others. Good example speaks much more loud and much more clear manner than any words which we might ever speak. If we are slow in speech, or if we don't know much, we can always give testimony of Christ to others by living a good life, the one which follows rules and regulations of God and of His church, and a life which is always happy and cheerful, because we are always happy because Christ Himself has suffered, so that we never have to suffer or be sad again. May God bless you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.